So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to edit GoPro footage in DaVinci Resolve, the free version, from start to finish. I'm going to show you every single step, and this is going to be a complete guide to editing a GoPro project in DaVinci Resolve. So the focus of my video today is for those of you that have not used DaVinci Resolve before, and maybe some of you who haven't video edited anything before. I'm going to explain each and every step so that you can follow along. And my goal is to teach you what you need to get started with video editing GoPro footage in DaVinci Resolve. So the first thing you need to do, of course, is you need to install DaVinci Resolve, the free version. If you haven't installed DaVinci Resolve yet, you'll want to go to your web browser and you'll want to type in DaVinci Resolve, and then you'll want to download the free version. So I encourage you to pause the video while you download and install DaVinci Resolve, and then when you're done, we'll continue on. So after DaVinci Resolve is installed, you're going to want to copy the footage from your GoPro onto your computer. So you have a couple different options for that. One option is you can connect your GoPro with the cable that it came with via a USB port. Another option is getting one of these USB sticks right here, and they allow you to put an SD card or a micro SD card in them. So I have one of these because some of the GoPros in the past, they would not always get detected by the computer, and I would disconnect, I would reconnect. Sometimes on try number 7 it would work, and sometimes it wouldn't. The newer GoPros are a little bit better. This is the Hero 11 I have in my hands, and this one, the connectivity is usually pretty good, especially after the latest firmware update. But if you do have trouble with that, you can just open your GoPro, take out the micro SD card, put it in some type of adapter like this, or you might have a micro SD card slot on your computer. Some do. Mine does not, and I have to use one of these, but if you have that, you can put it in that way as well. So what I'm going to do for today's video is I'm going to plug it in via the USB cable, and we're going to see if it works the first time around. So once I've connected it, I'm going to power on the GoPro, and then it's going to detect it here on the computer. So I'm going to click here where it said Hero 11 Black, and I'm going to click Open Device to view files. And this is our folder right here. We're going to double click on it. We're going to go into the DCIM folder, and where it says 100 GoPro. A really quick and easy way to get the files you need is go up here where it says search and type .mp4. These LRV files, they are preview files, and you do not want those. So the only files you're going to want for video files are .mp4. If you have a video time lapse, that would also be .mp4. If you shot photos that you want as part of your project, those are going to be either .gpr, that's GoPro's RAW format, or it's .jpg, which is a JPEG, a very common photo format. But for today's presentation, we are just going to be editing video files. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit Control A, and that's going to select all of them. And then you can either do Control C, or you can right click and hit Copy. So then what I'm going to do on my desktop here is I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it Hero 11 Black Edit. And we're going to copy those files into here. And it can take it a little bit of time depending on how much footage you have. In my case, I have about 6.5 gigabytes of footage, and it's going to take about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So while that's copying, what I want to do is I want to open DaVinci Resolve and get our project set up. So the version of DaVinci Resolve at the time I made this video is DaVinci Resolve 18. It's possible there could be a newer version by the time you view this, but the overall menu and options in here are going to largely be the same. When you open it, what you want to do is you want to go down to the lower right, and you want to select New Project. So I'm going to have this matcher folder. I'm going to have it called Hero 11 Black Edit, and I'm going to click Create. There is an update available. I'm going to skip that for now. This is what DaVinci Resolve looks like once we get into the software. And we want to do a couple things first before we import our footage. We want to go up here to File, and we want to click Project Settings. The first thing we want to change is we want to change the timeline resolution. So I highly recommend making a 4K video unless the footage you filmed is 1080p. If you filmed in 1080p or 2.7K, then you're going to want to do the 1920 by 1080 HD, and that is 1080p for your finished product. But if you did 4K or 5.3K, I recommend doing it on a 4K timeline. And a 4K timeline is going to be 3840 by 2160 Ultra HD. So you want to click that there. And for the timeline frame rate, if you were in the United States, I highly recommend doing 24 frames per second. 24 frames per second is going to be that cinematic frames per second, and I really like that. A lot of people will also do 30. 30 is going to be a frame rate more similar to television shows, but 24 is my favorite because if I have filmed in 30, 60, or 120 frames per second, it allows me maximum flexibility when editing, and I can do a lot more slow motion if I want to, and it's great for that. So we're going to do 24 here. And down here a little further, you just want to make sure your video bit depth is set to 10-bit. And other than that, the rest of these options you should be able to leave alone. You should not have to change any of these. So we're going to click Save. And now that we have that created, we are going to import our footage. So in order to import our footage, we're going to go up here to File, and we're going to click Import, and we're going to select Media. We're going to go here to our folder, and we're going to do Control-A. It's going to select all of our files, and we're going to click Open. And it's going to prompt you to change your project frame rate because most or all of my clips were filmed in 60 frames per second. And in this case, I want my timeline to stay at 24 frames per second. So I'm going to click Don't Change. And DaVinci Resolve is going to proceed to import all of these. And there they are right there. So before you start editing your project, it's a good idea to determine what story are you going to tell with your clips. In my case, this particular one, I mostly was filming sample clips to demonstrate some of the cinematic capabilities of the GoPro Hero 11. But in this case, I'm going to aim for an approximate 1-minute video that mainly focuses on my wife and my son having a running adventure through a field, because that's basically what was happening in these sample clips. So by default, these clips here are going to be imported in order by their file name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control-A, and I'm going to drop all of these onto my timeline. Because what I like to do first is I like to edit each clip and figure out what part of the clip I want to save, if any. Some of these clips I will probably be deleting because some of them were to demonstrate like what direction not to face as it pertained to the sun. And it's not the best clip from here. But some of these other clips are really good, and I'll probably use several seconds of them. We're going to take all of these and we're going to drag them down here, and we're going to let go of the mouse. And all of our clips are going to be here on the timeline now. So if you notice that your clips are choppy, what you can do is you can optimize these clips for your computer. So what you do is you want to go to Edit View here, and you want to do Select All, so Control-A. You want to right click and you want to select Generate Optimized Media. So this can take a little bit, but this is going to make your timeline so it's not choppy. It's going to perform a lot better, and it's going to make it a lot easier to edit. So I'm going to let this finish here. It says it's going to take about 8 to 9 minutes, and then we'll pick back up when that's done. All right, the optimization process is now finished. So we're going to go back to the Cut tab, and we're going to try playing this now. That is much better now. All right, so first thing I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to drag this back to the beginning. And this knob right here is really useful for that. It's called the jog wheel. If you click on it, you can drag left or right, and it'll go through your clips really fast. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to do some cutting. I like this part of the clip where I'm a little bit closer to my son. So I want to keep a couple seconds there. And then this one was an example of the clip facing the sun. So this one, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to cut the clip. So I'm going to click Cut, and it's going to remove the clip from the timeline. Now, if you accidentally do that and you want the clip back, just go up to Edit and select Undo, and it'll bring your clip back. In this case, though, I do want to cut it, so I'm going to get rid of it. So now if we go back to the beginning, our initial scene here starts off with my son walking. Then it transitions here to him facing the camera and running. So the part of him running that I want to keep, I want to figure out. So I'm going to drag ahead in this clip. So I do want this part right here where he kind of charges at the camera. So I want to click on the scissors here and I want to split the clips. And I'm going to right click on the first part of the clip and I'm going to cut it to remove it. Then I'm going to drag this ahead here. And I want to save that part right. I want to save that part right there. And we're going to do another cut. Then I'm going to remove the rest of this clip, because if you look a little further down here, it ends up facing toward the sun. And that was part of my demonstration of where the footage does not look as good as when the sun is at my back. So I'm going to right click and cut that clip as well. And I'm going to get rid of this entire clip here. And I'm going to keep this clip here because this scene transfers nicely to about right here where he is running a little bit again. So we're going to cut that and we're going to right click on that part of the clip we don't want to save and click cut. So now we have that transition there. And for this part of the scene, this was a longer one. Now he's not doing anything real different from the other one. So we're gonna right click on this and we're gonna click cut there as well. Which, by the way, it's always a good idea to film too much footage versus not enough. It's great to have a bunch of clips that you can go through and pick out your favorite. And then you can get rid of the ones that you don't like as much. It's better to keep your few favorite clips in there than to just fill your entire timeline and export everything. You want to keep the highlights and then you want to filter out everything else. It's going to make your project a lot better, but it is regretful if you don't have enough clips to work with. So in my case, I just want to make a 45-second to 1-minute video. I don't need a lot of footage to do that, but if you want to make a longer video, like a half hour or an hour, where you're detailing like an entire travel adventure or something like that, you want to make sure you have a lot of clips. And by the way, this particular video, I'm not going to have any clips where I'm talking to the camera because I did not film any. This particular video is just going to be one where I put it to some music for the finished product. But if you have talking clips, it's often a good idea to space some of your clips like this in between you talking. And those are what we would call B-roll clips. And with B-roll clips, it's a good idea to have some clips that establish your scene. So those would be some of those wider angle. If you have a drone, some drone clips. Get your scene established, and then a close-up of you talking to your audience or talking to someone else in the video. And then you want to advance your story with some more clips. So whatever you're doing, have some more clips in between, and then you could have some more clips of you talking and so forth. Going back and forth is going to tell your story better, and it's going to be a lot more interesting to your audience. All right, so we've got these clips here now. And actually, I like a little bit of this clip here with this tree, because this is a clip that shows some of the scenery, but it's not focused on my subjects at the time. So we're going to click on the cut here. We're going to get rid of the first part of this. And then we're going to drag ahead. And I'm going to keep it right to there. Right to there. And we'll drag this back here. Then we've got another scene here going through that meadow we were going through. So I kind of like this part right here where we go by that tall weed. So I'm going to demonstrate the fact that you don't have to hit cut each time. You also can just take this, you can hover near the start of the clip, and you're going to see that arrow that points to the left, and you're just going to drag this over to where you want it to cut off. And so now what that does is that cuts the clip and it goes to the next one. And I want that next clip to end right about there. So I'm going to go to the right side of the clip and I'm just going to drag this back and stop right there at my marker. This next clip, I want to get rid of this one because this one was facing the sun and it is not well lit. It's not the best footage. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to cut. And this clip I'm going to get rid of. My wife was filming a quick scene for me on the iPhone. Some scenes that were showing me using the grip with my GoPro. So I'm going to cut that because that is not relevant to this video. All right, so I don't want to have 3 shots of this meadow in a row. I like that other footage a little bit better, so this clip I'm just going to right click and cut. All right, so now we're getting to a fun clip here where my wife and son start running. So what I want to do for this clip is I want to start it off in normal speed, and then I want to slow a portion of it down. So I'm going to show you how to do slow motion here next. So first part of the clip, I want to have it right here where they start running. And then right about there, I want to have it go to slow motion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a cut. And I want to figure out how much of this clip I want to go in slow motion. So I'd like this part right here to be in slow motion. So we're going to do another cut. And then this part right here, I want it to finish off in normal speed. Do another cut there. We're going to delete the final part of the clip here by clicking cut. I want to go back to the part of the clip that I'm going to have slow motion. That is going to be this part of the clip right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on it and we're going to go to change speed. And it's going to open this box right up here. Now, if I want to slow it down to 40% of the speed, which I can do on a 24 frames per second timeline, because I shot this in 60 frames per second, and 24 is 40% of 60. Now, if it's a 30 frames per second timeline, if I put in 0.50 here, that would be 50% of the normal speed. But I want to do 0.40, which will be 40%, and then I want to hit enter. So now it has slowed it down for us. So let's go back a little bit, and we're going to start off this clip here. I'm going to hit play, normal speed, and then right there goes to that nice, smooth, slow motion. And then there, it goes back to normal speed. So I really like that. I'm going to leave that as it is. And then we're going to transition right into another clip of them running, which I like that at normal speed. But there is part of this clip where my wife ducks under a tree, and I kind of like that. Like, I want to slow down that moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out a little bit of the start of this clip because it would be kind of long otherwise. So we're going to drag this part of the clip to about right there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fast forward a little bit at times, because with these clips, I'm doing a lot of cutting and manipulating them, and it's a lot of repetition over and over with these clips. I don't want to waste your time with that. I want to make sure though that I show you all of the key steps in this process. So it is worth mentioning there are many different ways to do these things that I'm doing, such as cutting, filling the gap, dragging. There are keyboard shortcuts that you can use to make that even faster. For the sake of this video, I wanted to show you where all of those functions are within the menus and where you can click on them. But there are a lot of shortcuts you can learn, and I will provide a link to those in the description below so you can look through those shortcuts and maybe print them out. Once you start referencing them and using them while editing, your muscle memory will kick in and you'll remember those after you've used them a certain amount of time. You won't even have to think about it anymore. You'll just be able to use them each time you edit, and that's going to further speed up your editing process. The first time you edit with a new program is going to be the longest, but if you keep using it over and over, you're going to get better and better at it each time, and you're going to become faster and faster with the editing. So what we'll do here is we will end it right there with the end of that clip. The rest of this footage, we're just walking a little bit through the woods. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the rest of these clips. I'm going to click on it, click delete. And that's going to be the end of our project right there. And so our project right now is about 1 minute and 18 seconds long. And we can do further shortening of it. And the way we can do that is when we're fine-tuning our editing, when we go into edit here, it's pretty easy to shrink up these clips as well. So what I recommend doing next is, if we're gonna have some music to it like I am in this clip, I want to get rid of the audio tracks first. So what I wanna do is I want to unlink these because I want to separate the audio from the video. Otherwise, if the audio is still connected, when I go to delete, it's going to delete both clips, and I don't want to lose the video. I just want to lose the audio. I'm going to go up to edit, undo. We're going to lock the video track, and then we're going to select everything, and we're going to hit delete. And that's going to get rid of just the audio, but not the video. So now we can unlock the video track, and we're gonna just have our video here now. But I didn't have it selecting all of my footage, so I wanted to show you how we can fix that as well. So what we wanna do is we wanna go back to the lock track, and if you do Control A, it will select everything. So that's what I should have done the first time around, so then we wouldn't have some that got missed. Now I can hit delete, and it's gonna get rid of all of it. Go back and unlock it. And by the way, if you don't want to do your cutting in the cut view, you can also do your cutting in the edit view. It's mostly a preference thing, so whichever one works best for you and you like best, you can do. This particular view here I like for some of the other editing things, such as color correction, which I'm gonna show you as well, and also for syncing it to music. It's great using this view. So for music, there are a lot of different options. You can have your own music you created. You can get music from several free content libraries out there, including YouTube. YouTube has a lot of free music that you can preview and download from their library. You can also use a service like Epidemic Sound. You can use Motion Array. There are a lot of options. In my case, I do use both Epidemic Sound and Motion Array to get some of my music. And both of those do have some free options, but most of them are paid options. So whatever your audio is gonna be, you wanna make sure you have that on your computer. So we're gonna go up here to File, Import, Media. And I have already added my music here. So I'm gonna select that, the file right here. I'm gonna click Open. We wanna go back here to the Cut view, and we're gonna see our audio up here. So we're gonna take it, and we're gonna drag it down here, and drop it underneath the video track. Then we're gonna go back to our edit view. One thing I like to do to make the waveforms even more obvious, because we're gonna wanna somewhat edit to the flow of the music, is to click here and drag down. And it really maximizes those. It looks great. So I recommend doing that. All right, so let's sync up these clips to some music and get our finished product closer to the end. And then after we sync these clips up to music, I'm gonna show you how to grade this footage in DaVinci Resolve before we export to the finished product. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start playing this, and generally these clips, the transition is gonna line up with one of these hard beats here that you see in the music. There's one here, there's one here. There's a couple smaller ones here, there's a pretty big one here. This is a huge one where it drops off and then it gets loud again. So you'll see as we go on, but I'm gonna do a live edit of this here now. All right, so already the transitions are not with the beat there. For the first adjustment, what we're gonna do here starts off. So right there, when it hits hard, right there, we're gonna have a transition of some kind. So in this case, I think I like the start of this clip best. And right there, my son puts his foot down on the ground for a step. We're gonna drag this back. We're gonna right click here, we're gonna do ripple delete. It's gonna fill in the gap. So now check out the transition here. Next clip, I wanna have it transition right there. And we're gonna right click here and do ripple delete. Let's watch that again. All right, so I'm not gonna stop at every single one and explain. You get the idea there. So for this next one, I'm gonna drag it here. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on our timeline as well to make it a little easier to do some of the finer tuning edits here. We're gonna drag toward the plus sign. And I like that view about right there. All right, now for this one where it transitions from normal speed to slow motion, that's coming up, we wanna have that really match nicely with the audio because that matters quite a bit. So let's play a few seconds here to get that right. So in this case with this song, that just happens to work out kind of nicely there, where that drops down and it goes slow. But the key here is after that slowness is done, we want to have it go back to normal speed, which is right there. So what we can do here, we're going to click on this blade edit mode, and then for the rest of this clip, we want to have it go back to normal speed sooner. And the way we can find speed change here is we can go over here and click where it says speed change. And we are going to go here and we're going to put it back to 100. And I want to have this clip transition to the next right there on that hard beat. I'm going to click there, we're going to right click, we're going to ripple delete. So let's make sure that all looks good. We're going to have repetitious footage here, so we're going to right click and do ripple delete there as well. So now let's check out the next frame. All right, so I like how all of that flows with the music. That actually goes pretty good there with how those clips transition. But right here where the music slows down, we want to have something a little different there, probably a slow motion clip again. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut right there. We're going to ripple delete. And then for this clip, we're going to change the speed on this one. We're going to put this down to 40. And now we're going to play that clip. I like that. All right, so we got to do a little more fixing there. All right, so right there on this beat, we need to have another frame start there. Let's check that out again now. So this clip, I actually want to speed this one up. We're going to go to 200 for the speed. I'm going to do twice as fast. I think that's going to fit really well there. Let's go back here and check that out. I like that. And I like that at the end. It ends right on a hard beat when it cuts off. Just slightly over a minute. So very close to the minute that I was aiming for. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut the audio here and we're going to delete it. So then our audio ends right there. But we want to do a little bit of a transition. And so what we do is we go over here and we're going to click on audio. And what we want to do is we want to do a keyframe. So we want to put a keyframe right here for the volume. And then we want to put another keyframe at the very end for the volume. And what we're going to do for the very end is we're going to lower the volume. You can see here how the lines change there because we want it to fade out. We're going to lower it all the way so that it fades out completely. So if we go back and play that now, it fades. But maybe that fade is a little bit too quick. Maybe we want it to fade a little bit longer. So what you can do is you can drag the audio. And then down here, you can drag the keyframe out and extend it to here. So it's going to be a more gradual fade now. So now if we go back, that's a better fade. If you still want it to be a little more gradual, you can take this keyframe up a little bit and then try it again. I like that. That is much better. So now that our timeline is finished here, before we do the grading, I like to play this through one more time just to make sure everything looks good and that we're happy with it. So let's play it through. Perfect. That's what I was looking for. So next we're gonna dive into how to grade the footage to get the very best out of it. And you may have noticed the footage looks a little bit dull, a little bit washed out. And if you haven't seen my GoPro Hero 11 Black cinematic footage video for the best settings, I've linked to it above. But that footage I filmed was with a sharpness of low and color mode of flat. In addition, it's in a high bit rate, so we have a lot of flexibility. We can really bring out some really good detail and make this footage look really good because of that. So that's what I'm gonna show you next. So for our final part of the edit process, we are going to grade this footage. So grading the footage does include some color manipulation, but it also includes adjusting elements such as exposure, contrast, saturation, lots of things to help make that GoPro footage look as good as possible. So in this case, if you checked out my GoPro Hero 11 cinematic settings video, one of the things I recommended was making sure the footage was set to 10-bit, because 10-bit offers us a much wider spectrum of colors than 8-bit does. In addition, I also recommended to shoot it in flat for the color profile and sharpness set to low. When you do those things, you have a lot more editing flexibility here. And if you didn't do those, that's fine. And how much you need to grade your footage and what aspects you need to grade is gonna largely depend on the lighting that you filmed it in and what time of day it was, if it was cloudy, if it was sunny. There's a lot of factors, but in general, you're going to want to adjust these and you're gonna wanna find what looks best with your footage. So in this case, I'm going to show you what I think looks best with this footage and how to do it. So let's get started here. So the first thing we wanna do here on our edit tab, and this is gonna make it easy to apply this grade to all of the footage on the timeline. So in my case, I shot all this footage within the same half hour, and it was the similar lighting conditions, so I want to grade all this footage at once without having to grade every individual clip. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up here where it says effects. I'm gonna click on that. And I'm going to click down here where it says effects. And I'm gonna select adjustment clip, and I'm gonna drag and drop this above my individual clips here. It is key to put it above them, because that's going to make sure that whatever you do to that adjustment clip, it's going to apply to all the clips underneath it. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make sure this adjustment clip covers everything in our timeline. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit here so we can see everything. And I'm gonna drag this all the way to the beginning. So now that we've got our adjustment clip there, we want to click on the adjustment clip and we want to go to the color tab. And as you can see here in the color, it shows video 2, which is our continuous adjustment clip, is selected. So what you do once you have the adjustment layer selected is you can drag this to kind of select that clip that you think represents the best average lighting for your project. So in my case, these scenes are a little bit less lit, and some scenes like these are really bright, intense sunlight. So what I probably want to do is I want to pick one of them about in here that has about that 45-degree angle of lighting. So I think I'm going to select right about here. I'm going to go back a little bit. Right about there is pretty good average lighting. So I'm going to leave the slider right there. And I'm going to make sure that video 2, the adjustment layer, is selected. And you'll be able to see that because it'll be highlighted in red. So what we want to do first is we want to go down here and we want to start adjusting these. And you're going to see a lot of options down here. Even for the free version of DaVinci Resolve, you have a lot of flexibility and a lot that you can do. And it's really cool how much DaVinci Resolve offers at no cost. When I'm doing footage grading, I like to have my scopes on here. So the scopes are different graphs where you can kind of see, I'll explain as we go along, but you can see like what's hitting the upper limit and what's hitting the lower limit on the various settings. So the way to turn on scopes is to go over here and click on this right here. And then you furthermore have some other options down here. I prefer the waveform. I find that this one is easiest for everything that I'm doing. All right, so what we want to do next is we want to go over here and we want to make some adjustments. So the first thing I want to adjust is I want to drag my contrast up. We need to increase the contrast because this was shot in flat, and we want to bump up that contrast. It's going to make the footage pop a lot more. It's going to look a lot better. So in this case, you can see some of them reaching the upper limit here in the waveform over there when we get to about 1.3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at 1.3 for now. And then we're going to go over here to where it says gain, and we're going to adjust the gain. The gain is basically an adjustment of the exposure. You know, if you bring it up here, it way overexposes our footage. If you bring it down, it makes it too dark. So when I shot the footage, I had an EV comp of negative 0.5, which helps this to not be overexposed. But it's still a little bit bright when that gain is at 1. It's a little brighter than I like. So I'm gonna bring this down ever so slightly. And to do that, you're just gonna click here on this dial wheel. And if you drag left, it's gonna bring it down a little bit. And what I wanna look for is I wanna ideally have this where the tops are down a little bit above that 896 line over there on the right. And those represent the brightest part of our image, which is gonna be the sky up here. So I like that right there for now. These are set at about 0.87. So for the mid detail, I'm gonna leave that alone for now. But I do want to go over here to shadow and highlights because that's gonna be an important element to adjust. So for the shadows, I wanna bring those down a little bit here. But we don't want over here on our waveform, we don't want it to get down there where it's hitting 0. That's obviously too shadowy, too dark. So we want to keep this up just a little bit. And I'm going to set this for now to about negative 20. Now for our highlights, we can do some adjustments here as well. We can bring those up a little. And when we do that, of course, you can see the brightest part of our image, which is the sky. That's bumping up along the top there. So I don't want to bring up highlights too much, but I do want to have them up just a little bit. We'll do about 10 for now. Saturation, I want to bump that up because we shot this in flat and there's not a lot of color there. So we're going to bring that up. And I like the saturation for now. Let's put it about 62, 63. And there's an easy way to look at that too, to make sure it's not getting out of control. And that's the vector scope. So ideally, you want to have the colors not getting too far out here away from the center. Obviously, there's a lot of oranges and yellows in here, which are shown, and then the blues down here. So as you drag this, you can see those really going outward. And that's a saturation of 100. And that's ridiculous there. That is obviously way oversaturated. So we want to bring that back. But you know, if we take it down to there, it's way undersaturated. So we want to strike a good balance here. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave this at about 65. And you of course can type these values in too. You don't have to do the dragging. You can try different values and that's fine too. So now what I like to do is I like to do a check and see how this looks across the rest of the footage. So I can go back through these clips. I can see how all these adjustments look. And overall, these look pretty good. But there's a couple more adjustments I want to make. So we're going to go back here approximately to where we were editing before. And we're going to set this back to the waveform. And what I want to do here is for the mid detail, this is going to bring up our sharpness a little. You see, if we drag it to the left, it makes it way soft. You know, we want to at least keep it at the 0 because that's the low sharpness we started with. But I'm going to bring this up to approximately 30. And then what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of a zoom in here. I like to zoom into about 200. And so right now we've got my sun here as the subject. So if we brought this back to what it was at around 0, obviously it's not very sharp there. You can see as we bring it up, it gets much sharper. Now you don't want to overdo it, but I think I do like it right around 30. So I'm going to go back to that and we're going to go back to fit. And let's just drag this around a little bit to make sure that sharpness looks good without being overdone. So it does look good. But something I noticed with this scene, where it's one of my darker ones, is we've got a lot of the waveforms hitting the bottom here. This is a combination of a little bit too underexposed and maybe a little bit too much shadow in there as well. So under the gain here, I'm gonna bump this back up just a little bit. And we're gonna put that to about, let's put it to about 90. And let's do a few more adjustments here. So shadows, let's bring those up just a little bit. Bring those up to about -9.5. Highlights. Let's boost highlights just a little bit here. Bring those to about 650. And let's try that again now. So let's check out some of these clips. All right, let's play it and just see how it looks. So far, I like the overall look of that. And if you look at our waveforms over here, in general, those are pretty well balanced. You don't have a lot that's touching the bottom or touching the top, which is good. You want to be within that range there. And even here in one of our brighter clips, we're still doing okay with the top there. I really like how those shadows look. Those really pop. And this footage already has a much more cinematic look to it than it did before we edited. Let me stop it here for a moment to show you what I mean. So if we do that, if we double click on V2, it turns off our adjustment layer. You can see how much different that footage looks versus here when I turn it back on. That footage looks so much better when it's turned on. There's a lot more contrast and detail in the trees there. The colors look good. The shadows and highlights, the contrast, everything looks great. Let me do that once more. So it's striking how much of a difference you can do when editing in here from what you started with versus what you get as your finished product. So let's check out this scene as well. Turn it off here. That looks a lot better and it looks a lot more cinematic. There's a lot more depth to that footage. I really like how that looks. This scene has a lot of colors going on in it, and that is how those colors look. There's a lot of oranges and yellows there in those pine needles. So if we turn it off here and turn it on, you can see that's a huge difference and it looks fabulous. The color of the sky there too, it was a very bright blue that day. So if we turn it off here, it looks kind of dull and washed out. Turn it on, looks great. And if you'll notice, the details are here in our clouds too. So we didn't lose the detail with our grading. And because of having that EV comp set to -0.5, we were able to preserve those highlights in the clouds and still have those there when editing. And DaVinci Resolve is one of the best tools for color grading. You can do so much in here. And like I said, this is the free version. This is not the paid version, this is free. So it's really quite powerful. And there are a lot of settings here that you could adjust to fine tune this that I didn't go over today, because I wanted to hit on the basics that'll help you get a really good GoPro video project. But if you want to learn more about DaVinci Resolve, there's a lot you can dig into. And even with the other parts of this, when I was doing clipping and cutting, there's a lot of shortcuts you can use to speed things up, a lot of keyboard shortcuts. I just showed you the basic ways of doing those things, but there's a lot more you can learn with DaVinci Resolve if you want to do so. All right, so now that we've got everything done here, it's all graded. Let's click Save first. And let's go over here to Deliver. We're gonna export the finished product now. So when I click on Deliver, we're gonna go here and we're gonna click on Custom Export. And for file name, I'm going to name it a Run in the Meadow. And we're gonna browse and I'm gonna save this to my desktop. And for the format, you wanna select MP4 because MP4 is most compatible with YouTube and it's gonna upload and process great on YouTube's end. For the codec, you wanna make sure you select H.264. For the resolution, I highly recommend selecting 4K, which is 3840 by 2160 Ultra HD. You could export this at 1080p and you could upload it that way. But when you upload it in 4K, it's gonna look extra good when people are viewing it, even if it's not viewed in the 4K resolution. For the frame rate, make sure this matches your timeline. So if you did do 30, make sure this is set to 30. But if you did 24, make sure it's set to 24. For the quality, you want to select best here. I like to have that best quality. For the encoding profile, you can leave that as auto. For the keyframes, automatic. Under the advanced settings, we can keep all of these the same here. We don't need to change anything. And then what we want to do here is we want to go over to audio, just make sure everything here looks good. It does look good, no problems there. And then finally, what we want to do is we want to go here to add to render queue. And it's going to show up over here on the right-hand side. We are going to click on it, and we're going to click render all. And it's going to say rendering in progress. And right now it's got about 3 to 4 minutes left. It's actually going very fast. This is also going to depend on the processing power, the GPU, the basic specs of your computer. This part could go really fast, or it could take a while. So it's going to largely depend on your computer. If it's going to take a while, take a break, go get a cup of coffee, get a snack, come back to it in a little bit and see how it looks. In this case, it's going quite fast. So I'm going to wait here, and then we're going to take a look at the finished product. All right, and we are done. Completed in 1 minute and 42 seconds. Not bad. So I'm gonna just do one more save here, and I'm gonna exit, and let's take a look at our finished product. So that is how you edit an entire GoPro project in DaVinci Resolve. I hope you found this tutorial and demonstration helpful, and I hope you have a great time with your GoPro and editing that footage in DaVinci Resolve as you tell your story through video.